morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fall 2020 Faculty and Staff Assembly. My name is Belinda Munoz, and I am the Administrative Support Coordinator for the Center for Irrigation and Technology and the Chair of the Staff Assembly Executive Committee. I know this is not our traditional way of hosting the Faculty and Staff Assembly, but let's be honest, the new tradition for all of us is Zoom. Over the last few months, we have all endured more challenges than we'd like to admit. Our lives as we once knew them are, well, different. And different can be uncomfortable, but could also be as good, if not better. It is in these challenging times when we find our true strength. Now, more than times in the past, it is important for us to continue to move forward, giving our students and each other the support and direction to adapt and succeed. I feel we have overcome many obstacles so far and continue to make leaps and bounds toward creating our new normal. Many of us will continue working remotely. Some of us are going to return to campus full or part-time. But all of us can continue to improve, showcasing the principles of community now more than ever. We can rally together, collaborate, borrow strength from one another, and create an even stronger Bulldog campus community. Some of us are thriving during these telecommuting times, while others are trying to survive the newly found chaos of working and juggling family in the same room. Many of you have been to Zoom meetings and have seen fellow employees and children, even animals, join the conference. Let us all allow ourselves to laugh a little more during these unforeseen interruptions. Let us all embrace the bits of home life that sometimes crosses over into our work life now. Let us be the Bulldog community that is kind, that is respectful, that is patient, and embraces our diversities to overcome these challenges together. I would like to take a moment to thank my fellow Staff Assembly members for all their hard work and dedication this last academic year. I would especially like to commend them for their creativity in keeping the faculty and staff engaged as we transitioned online during the pandemic. I hope to see you all this afternoon for the Faculty and Staff Online Welcome Back Mixer. In closing, I would like to thank Dr. Castro, our campus leadership, and the Student Health Center for actively seeking ways to keep us informed and safe during these times. Your efforts are truly appreciated. I wish you all the best this semester, and please stay safe. Thank you. And now, join me in welcoming my friend and colleague, the Chair of the Academic Center, Dr. Tom Holyoke.
Thank you, Belinda, and good morning, everyone. I'm Tom Holyoke, Professor of Political Science and Chair of the Academic Senate, and welcome to what may be the strangest semester in our careers. We're in a position which many of us are not accustomed to, not able to really be with our students. Instead, we are trying to figure out how to recreate the intellectual richness of the classroom with laptops, tablets, cameras, and a smorgasbord of software. Amazingly enough, we are going to do it, at least as well as it can be done. I am still astonished at how quickly we were able to change into a virtual teaching environment this last spring. It was far from ideal, full of anxiety for us and our students, but given the terrible circumstances, we did it. This time we are ready. This summer, many of us got training. We realized we needed training. And as a result, we are as prepared for the virtual semester as I think we can be. So many people to thank for this. Perhaps most of all, I would like to thank the great people at the Center for Faculty Excellence, who provided so much training for so many so quickly, paid for with money found somewhere by the president and provost. I also really want to thank the Executive Committee of the Academic Senate for working so hard over the summer, adjusting policies, on a temporary basis, mind you, to accommodate these extraordinary circumstances, and spending hours working closely with many in the administration on issues such as grading, adding and dropping classes, protecting faculty, staff, and students, and also coming to grips with the university budget. So many working so hard in the service of our students. Obviously, there are a lot of challenges ahead. COVID is there, and it's unchecked. Wear your mask, socially distance, and wash your hands, like a lot. It's been a hot political summer, too, with a big election coming and tens of thousands of people marching around the nation for social change. We will have challenges here, too, such as finding the best way to implement a 3-unit ethnic studies and perhaps social justice graduation requirement, and cope with a shrinking budget while our enrollment continues to grow. So, who gets to lead us through all of this? Welcome him to his podium, President Joseph Castro. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Good morning, everyone. I am excited to launch our fall semester with you today. I want to begin by thanking Professor Holyoke for his continued and strong leadership of the Academic Senate, Belinda Munoz for her passionate leadership of the Staff Assembly, Shirley Staton for her wise counsel as chair of the Joint Labor Council, and Hisham Khattab for his energetic leadership of the Associated Students. I also want to thank the President's Cabinet, a few of them are in the room with me today, and others on Zoom, for working effectively as one team to sustain and strengthen Fresno State during this consequential time. Over the past 6 months, we have met more often than ever before, sometimes more than once in a day, I think 3 times one day, and even on some weekends. And I am grateful for their unwavering commitment to Fresno State. And last but not least, I want to thank my wife, Mary, for her love and support today and every day. Like many parents in the community, she's helping to get Jess ready for the school year today. During normal times, my fall assembly speech would be much longer than it will be today, and it would include an announcement of our most significant accomplishments and new initiatives for the future. However, as you know, this year is anything but normal. I think many of you would agree that this may be among the most abnormal years in our lifetime. Each of us is being affected by the global pandemic, some more directly than others. And I want to acknowledge how challenging life has been as you have all strived to balance work and home responsibilities during this scary and often confusing time. I've heard from many of you about how quickly the situation is evolving. You make plans on one day, only to find out the next day that circumstances have changed yet again. Mary and I have felt the same way on many days. I also want to express my thanks for your continued dedication to our mission, which is to boldly educate and empower our students for success. And as you may know, colleges and universities across the nation are being challenged in many different ways. Nearly all are facing reductions in state and non-state budgets, and many are challenged with a significant reduction in enrollment. I am pleased to share with you today that due to our collective efforts, Fresno State is yet again breaking away from the pack. Indeed, while many universities are facing enrollment reductions this fall, we are enrolling the largest entering class of students in our history, 6,500 students. Let's let that sink in for just a moment. 6,500 students, about 70% of whom are the first in their families to go to college. We have demonstrated our tremendous value to students and families over the years, and they are responding positively, even during these challenging times. I want to take this opportunity to thank our staff from Enrollment Management and our Dog Days teams for their collective efforts and stamina in recruiting, admitting, orienting, enrolling, and packaging financial aid for a record-breaking number of incoming students. My deep appreciation goes to Dr. Carolyn Kuhn, Dr. Melissa Lee, Dr. Tammy Pullins, Fong Yang, Kelly Russell, and your entire team for reinventing student outreach and engagement in mere weeks to attract this growing class. Our talented faculty are essential to the continued success of Fresno State. And because of them, our student retention rates were higher this spring than they were 1 year ago, even under the extraordinary circumstances. In fact, we were able to graduate more than 6,000 students in May. Our diverse graduates are now prepared for life and success due to their own perseverance, as well as the effective leadership of our provost and vice provost, deans, department chairs, and faculty. Thank you all for your extraordinary efforts. When we pivoted to virtual education in March, we adapted the entire way we teach at Fresno State. Our faculty were required to be more flexible than ever before, out of compassion for the fluid circumstances of our students and their families. Thankfully, as Tom said, our Center for Faculty Excellence, CFE, has been there each day to provide vital support to our faculty as they transition to teach virtually. The CFE has been heroic this summer by providing professional development programming for approximately 900 faculty to enhance their teaching effectiveness in a virtual mode this fall. Thank you to Dr. Brian Barrett, Dr. Rudy Sanchez, and your team for the level of responsiveness in this critical area of support for our faculty. During the pandemic, our campus has taken additional precautions to ensure that our facilities are safe and clean. I want to acknowledge our dedicated staff members in facilities management for going the extra mile to keep our campus properly maintained during this important time. In particular, our custodians have been a critical resource to ensure the health and welfare of our campus community. Whenever notified of a potential COVID-19 exposure, they have responded immediately to requests for cleaning and disinfecting various rooms and areas. Our building engineers have been monitoring proper outside airflow and have been changing air filters on a more frequent basis. Our building trades team has been instrumental in ensuring timely completion of modifications to workspaces to ensure the safety of our employees as they return to campus to help prepare for the fall semester. Thank you so much to Vice President Astone, to Tina Medina, and the entire team for your diligence and care. On the technology front, Fresno State has been a national leader in providing access to devices and mobile hotspots at no cost to our students. This year, we plan to lend another 5,000 plus devices and mobile hotspots to students in need. I am grateful for the leadership of Mike Pronovost, Director of Discover E, and of the entire Technology Services team led by Vice President Leon for your efforts to support the technology needs of our students, faculty, and staff. Without those technological tools, it would be nearly impossible for us to do our work during the pandemic. And last but not least, I want to acknowledge the vitally important role of our Student Health and Counseling Office in supporting our students during the pandemic. Your key role in the campus's partnership with the Fresno County Department of Public Health has helped to ensure that our university is following appropriate health guidelines during the pandemic. Thank you to Dr. Janelle Murillo and your team for their determined efforts. In the months and years ahead, I envision a Fresno State that will be stronger and more effective than ever before. We will navigate the unique conditions of the pandemic as carefully as possible by staying focused on our mission, on our values of diversity, distinction, and discovery, and on our principles of community, respect, kindness, collaboration, and accountability. Colleagues, we are heading to a new normal. While I cannot tell you this morning with absolute certainty what it will look like, I believe that our university will become even more flexible in serving our talented students where they are. I anticipate that many faculty and staff will embrace the idea of working remotely, and many students will embrace the idea of learning remotely because it is more convenient for them. At the same time, I believe the new normal will include many high-touch opportunities inside and outside of the classroom on our beautiful campus. For some who do not have conducive teaching or learning spaces in their homes, and I know that's the case for many of our students, the campus will always be their best option. It is my hope that our new normal, with an eventual vaccine, will be far less stressful for everyone than it is today. I promised that I'd keep my remarks brief today, and I will keep that promise. Before closing, I want to share a short yet inspiring story with you. It is a story that illustrates the power of philanthropy in supporting student success at Fresno State. As you may know, every dollar matters to our students and families. I know you know that. Many of our students have struggled even more than usual during the pandemic because of lost jobs and reduced income. Our student cupboard, which has remained open throughout COVID and still open today, and the Good Samaritan Fund have been foundational supports to Fresno State students in need. If you know of students in need, please refer them to these vital resources. A few months ago, we learned that a family foundation with ties to the Valley wished to make a major gift to Fresno State. The deceased patriarch of that family, a man named Jerry Perenchio, was committed to contributing to the area where he grew up. After discussing our funding priorities with the current leader of this family foundation, they decided to focus their philanthropy on supporting those Fresno State students with the most financial need. Today, I am delighted to announce a gift of $5.5 million to Fresno State from the Perenchio Foundation. $500,000 of this gift will immediately benefit our Good Samaritan Fund, a resource for students facing unexpected financial roadblocks to academic progress and personal well-being. And the remaining $5 million will establish an endowed scholarship fund to support students from all backgrounds, including deserving undocumented students at Fresno State. This is yet another example of philanthropists inspired by the powerful and impactful work that we all do together at Fresno State. And I want to acknowledge the important work of our entire development team, led by Vice President Custodio and Katie Perez. Together in 2019-20, we attracted $32.9 million in private investment in the university, our second highest fundraising total in our history. This newest gift of $5.5 million will be included in our 2020-21 totals. So we're already off to a great start during this academic year. Colleagues, our work today and in the days and months ahead will be among the most consequential in our careers. Yes, it will be challenging. There's no question about that. It will also be deeply meaningful because we are uniquely positioned to make a positive difference during such a difficult time. We're well equipped to address the challenges we face because we are in this together, and we are deservedly recognized as one of the leading public universities in this nation. The last global pandemic of this magnitude occurred in 1918, when Fresno State was just in its first decade of life. A very small handful of faculty and staff, but mighty group, and a few students led by founding president Charles McLean successfully navigated through that difficult period of time. Now it's our turn. As we begin our 110th academic year at Fresno State, let's channel that incredible resilience of our colleagues from that era and utilize the dynamic technological tools and intellectual gifts that we possess to continue lifting our university up to new heights of distinction. Our students and their families deserve our very best efforts. I continue to believe that Fresno State's best and brightest days lie ahead. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will now be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, President Castro. And hello, Fresno State colleagues. I'm Patty Wade, Director of University Communications, and I will help moderate the question and answer session this morning as part of the Fall Assembly. But first, just a few guidelines for your participation in this event. Dr. Castro and his colleagues will devote much of their time together to answering your questions. For the purpose of the portion of this event, all audience members are on mute. However, we do encourage you to submit your questions via the Q&A and type those there, and I will do my best to read aloud as many as time allows. So let's get started. We are first joined, of course, today by President Joseph Castro and two of his colleagues on the cabinet, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Saul Jimenez Sandoval. And then there's also Vice President for Administration, Debbie Astone is here with us today. And then we also have two cabinet members who are available remotely, and that would be Orlando Leon, our Chief Information Officer, and Terry Toomey, our Athletics Director. So colleagues, please remember, if you have a question, please submit it in the Q&A section, and we can begin now. Are you ready, Dr. Castro?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Great. So one question has to do around employees voluntarily separating. According to this person, CSU Humboldt and Monterey Bay have already offered early exit programs intended to encourage employees to voluntarily separate through a severance package. Some other campuses apparently are considering the same. Will Fresno State consider offering an early exit program for its employees?
Thank you for this question. I'll have Vice President Astone amplify my answer, but this is certainly something that we've been looking at. I don't anticipate that it will be one of the tools that we deal with in terms of our budget reductions during this year. As you know, we've made about $8.5 million or so of reductions, and we have another $5 million or so to go. We're looking at a variety of ways to do that, and we can talk about this during the session. But at this point, that particular tool is going to be left for later. I'd like to ask Vice President Astone to amplify my answer.
Thank you, President Castro. That is correct. We are considering that as a possible option in the future. Some of our sister campuses are exploring that option currently. I think it's also important to note that each of our campuses within the CSU system are approaching their budget reduction plans as necessary given their campus resources or the reserves that they may have available. But we are looking at all possible options to mitigate the impacts of this budget reduction. But at this time, as President Castro mentioned, we are focusing more on our operating expenses and other operational impacts for this year. So that will be an option that we will look at if necessary, but we are learning from what our other CSU campuses are doing as well.
Thank you, Vice President Naystone. So as we all know, there typically is some silver lining in difficult situations. And one of the questions that's been submitted asks is if we have seen any unexpected benefits coming out of this pandemic that we're currently going through.
Absolutely. Many of them, actually. I think one of them is, I believe it's brought us closer together in many respects, even though we haven't been able to spend time in the normal ways. I can say that I feel that way among the cabinet. I feel a stronger connection to all of you, as well as our students. And I've spent a lot of time with them over the last several months and webinars and so forth. So in many respects, we're having more dialogue today than ever before. It's just being done differently. The other silver lining that I'm seeing is just the resilience of our students and our families is coming to the fore. And when you think about in this environment of COVID, that we would have the largest entering class in history. And depending on how things go in the coming weeks, we might even have the largest total enrollment in history. That's another silver lining, that our students are not shying away from education, they're leaning in. And our retention rates are higher. That's another silver lining. I think we're learning a lot from this era, and I think it's going to make us stronger and better in the future. And I think the stress and strain has made it tougher for so many of us. But I think the silver lining for me is that we're learning a lot, and I do think we're going to be stronger and even more effective, more flexible in the coming years.
Thank you, Dr. Castro. The next question has to do with software. And so perhaps this is an answer for Vice President Leon.
Yes.
What new software solutions are available to professionals on campus? And what plans do we have for future software solutions?
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you. That's a great question. Right now, we see how technology is so impactful in every industry and, of course, in higher education. What I'd like to add about that is we're always exploring what the alternatives might be and what the possibilities are. And I'm always welcome to your ideas, so please feel free to send me your ideas. This past spring, as we transitioned to remote work and remote learning, there were quite a few technology solutions that we did put into place and are continuing to explore to put into place. One example is DocuSign, which has been very impactful to our administrative operations. What used to take days, for example, to sign off on a document in paper took maybe perhaps minutes in other cases. And so that's been a really great benefit for our entire campus. We're also exploring other digital tools that will help speed up the processes that we do on campus and also our learning processes. Another big tool that we put into place for this fall is a tool from a vendor called Panopto, which is in essence a lecture capture tool, but it can also be used in other areas outside of the classroom. Panopto will help our faculty primarily to record their lectures, which they've been able to do before, but also to put it into a system that will allow students to be able to view lectures at any time, watch them in 2 or 3 times speed if that's the desire, as well as put in inline comments for other people to see, whether those are students or faculty. And so there's a very interactive component to the tool there. We also see Panopto to be able to be used within professional development and learning, where we may be able to record webinars and other professional development sessions to be able to be viewed offline, as well as to have that interactive component. So those are 2 really quick tools right now that we are looking into and have put into place. And there are many, many others as well. William and others, if you want to reach out to me for more information or to other people in my technology services team, please feel free and we'd be happy to have a discussion with you.
Thank you, Orlando. Our next question that came in is from a faculty affairs perspective. President Castro, the question is, will there be any tenure track faculty searches in the coming year? And I thought this might be a good opportunity to also talk about our new faculty members.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to have the provost, who's leading our academic programs and our faculty recruitment, answer this question.
Thank you, President Castro. And it's good to see everyone via this medium. We will have some essential tenure track faculty positions this year. We have 15 members who are joining us, 15 faculty who are joining us this semester. And we are in the process of approving the essential positions for the coming year. So more on that later. These will be primarily attributed to credentialing and also to accreditation and also to very essential discipline-specific needs that each of the colleges and departments have. So more on that later.
Thank you very much,
If I could
Provost.
add to that,
Please.
Patty, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet with the new faculty that the provost and the deans have hired for this fall. And I was so impressed with them. We spent some time on Zoom the other day, and I have such confidence in them. And if things go well, they'll be with us for decades ahead. So I want to welcome all of our new faculty and our two new deans who've joined us in the College of Health and Human Services and in the Kremen School of Education and Human Development. We're excited to have all of you with us for this upcoming academic year.
Great, thank you. There are several questions coming in regarding the budget.
Sure.
So I'll try to merge them together
Sure.
without being too long-winded.
That's fine.
So the great news around a record number of incoming students, one of the questions is, with this high number, if it offsets any of our budget challenges. And then this related question is, why can't furloughs be considered this year instead of going straight into layoffs?
Really great questions. Our enrollment situation is something that is a blessing for so many reasons. But having 25,000 students this fall from a financial standpoint means that we will hit our revenue targets for the year. And that will help us in dealing with the overall budget. It will not necessarily help us deal with the reductions in state funding, but it does provide a vitally important revenue for us to maintain our services and support. So that's really good news. I'm also happy that our international students, it looks like we'll be around 400 or so international students, and we've been very concerned about that part as well, and especially for them and their learning experiences. As it relates, I want to make sure I get the second part of that, Patty, before I go on. There was a
Sure.
second
The question was, there's an assumption that the administration is going straight to layoffs
Yeah.
rather than considering furloughs
Yeah,
first.
that's a great question. And I'll ask Vice President Astone to amplify here. The honest truth is that our cabinet actually was anticipating furloughs for the upcoming year. So we reduced our budget by about $8 million earlier this summer. And we had assumed during that time that the remaining reduction could be handled through furloughs, which is really kind of deferring it further down because it's a one-time solution. But that decision needed to be made system-wide by Chancellor White. And after he looked at the entire landscape, and I completely understand and support his decision, he thought it was best for us to not impose furloughs for this upcoming year. And what that means is, as Vice President Astone said earlier, the budget situation is different at each campus. And for us, we did not have the reserves that other campuses might have had to invest on a one-time basis to deal with a cut. We actually used some of our reserves to improve the facilities on our campus, and you all know about examples from that. So without that tool, so to speak, we needed to go back and make other reductions. And I'd like to ask Vice President Astone to share with you the ways that we're approaching this, because we're being as thoughtful as we can as we approach this last $5 million budget reduction.
Thank you, President Castro. As we all know, these have been very difficult decisions that we've all had to make. And each of our colleagues on the cabinet and our divisional areas have really looked at everything in our various budgets, ways to, for example, keep existing positions that may be open, keep those unfilled, looking at other operational efficiencies, looking at our operating budgets very carefully. Unfortunately, we did need to look at our administrative expenses and overhead, which did impact some of our managerial colleagues. And those were very difficult decisions to make because they're vital members of our campus community. But we are needing to look at all of our operations, excuse me, in light of the changes as a result of the pandemic and the transition to virtual instruction. And so we are trying to focus again now as part of what we're calling the phase 2, which is this additional $5 million that is part of the 13.6 overall budget reduction for this year. We're looking at additional operating savings. We will be looking at additional administrative expenses. And as President Castro has communicated previously, our last position is to impact any staff positions. So we are doing everything we can to impact the fewest number of staff positions possible, but we also recognize that our operations here on campus have changed, and we need to be able to adjust with those changes. So we are working very closely together as a cabinet leadership team, consulting with President Castro, consulting with our colleagues, and we are doing everything we can to mitigate those reductions for our campus community. But at the same time, we're also needing to be responsible with the budget reductions, knowing that this could be 2 to 3 years still down the road before we see any kind of economic recovery in our state. So we just appreciate what everyone is doing and the commitment, and as President Castro mentioned, the resiliency that our campus community is showing, and compassion and care for our colleagues.
Thank you, Vice President Naystone. So not surprisingly, many of our colleagues are already thinking about the spring. So one of the questions that I would imagine is on many people's minds, has a timeline been established to make a decision regarding the mode of instruction for spring 2021? And when will we know if we will still be virtual next semester?
It's a great question. One of the challenging parts of leadership right now is when you can't answer every question. And this is certainly an area where there's ambiguity. My hope is that as we respond in positive ways to the call to be careful and thoughtful in how we interact with each other each day, wearing masks, maintaining social distancing, washing our hands frequently, all those things are vitally important. And actually, if we all did that consistently for the next several weeks and months, we'd be able to bring our COVID cases down near zero. The challenge is that we have not been able to do that as a community. And so that's where the ambiguity comes in. And then as we approach the flu season, we don't really know what's going to happen. So we're going to be as thoughtful as we can. We'll make decisions as quickly as we can. I can't give you a date right now, but it'll be, I'm guessing somewhere toward the middle of the fall where we'll start to see what's going to be happening in the spring. We'll have a better understanding of that. And as you know, you make plans on one day and you have to make adjustments as needed. And we've done that for our fall planning. And I really thank everybody for their patience. So I promise you that as we're understanding the situation, as we make decisions, we'll continue to be as transparent with all of you as we can. And I want you to know that I am looking forward to the new normal coming as soon as possible. We miss having you here on campus, and we're going to do everything we can to get folks back here in a safe manner. I also want to take this opportunity to urge everybody to go get a flu shot. If you can do it today, that would be a great idea. You can go to Walgreens or CVS. They have them. I went there the other day. You can use your health insurance. It'll cover it like that. We're going to look at ways to encourage that this fall, but that will also be another way that we can protect each other is by having a flu shot. So just want to encourage that as well.
Thank you. The next question is back to budgets. So how will Fresno State seek input of department chairs and other faculty in the decision-making related to potential budget cuts?
Well, we are always welcoming of your input. I know that the provost has been meeting with his leadership team. I know that he has met frequently with the department chairs. I'm going to ask him to talk about that in a moment, but I want to invite any of the department chairs or anybody on campus to share their thoughts about the budget with us. And if you are a department chair and you have a great idea, please share it with your dean and share it with your provost. And we're open to creative thinking these days. Provost, would you like to add to that?
Sure. Thank you, President Castro, and thank you for the question as well. Indeed, we have been meeting with the deans, and the vice provost and I have been meeting with the deans, as well as with the chairs. I've in constant communication with the chair of chairs, Katie Dyer, and this is now the time to be creative. With anything that we do here at Fresno State, there's some transparency that happens, and with budgets especially, I think it's good to know how it is that a budget decision is going to affect the department level, because it is at the department level really where the strongest, most effective type of contact between the students and the university happens. So absolutely, we are open to these ideas, we're open to dialogue, and we're open to discussing how it is that we move together as a university and as an entity that really drives the entire Valley of San Joaquin. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost. I also want to assure our chairs and our faculty that as we're navigating this budget situation, that we're pursuing reductions that are as far from the classroom as possible. And as Vice President Aistone said earlier, these are not easy discussions and decisions, but I want you to know that we've been very thoughtful in making them. And one of the things that we're learning is that during COVID, we can operate much differently. And so we've reduced as much as we can our non-personnel costs. And that has helped us to really focus on the things that we do best here through our people and to supporting the people that do that important work. So I just want to assure our faculty, and I've shared this with Chair Holyoke and the Academic Senate Executive Committee, that the decisions we're making are intended to preserve and protect the academic quality of Fresno State.
Thank you, President Castro. Given that approximately 2,200 people will be on campus at any given time throughout the semester, one of the questions, in fact, a few of them, has to do with when does the university disclose when someone is tested positively for COVID-19? So the question is, what is the policy? When does the university actually announce to others that someone has been tested positive?
It's a great question. I'm going to ask Vice President Aistone to answer that.
Thank you, President Castro. Well, first of all, I want to thank our colleagues, as mentioned earlier, Janelle Murillo, Lisa Kao, and Amy Luna, who have been working very closely together on various communications and protocols for reporting, and also for working very closely with our colleagues at the Fresno County Department of Public Health. So we do have a website that is tracking the number of positive cases on campus that is updated regularly, and a big thank you to our colleagues in University Communications for their constant assistance through this entire process with communications and website development. But there is an online reporting form, and so I hope you saw the communications that came out last week. We encourage you to fill out that form, either yourself or your supervising manager, if someone has been exposed to somebody who has tested positive, or if someone tests positive themselves. And so it's really important that that online form get filled out. And then what happens is Lisa Kao and Janelle Murillo work closely together then to work with either the employee or the student in following the proper protocols for quarantining and isolation, and working with our Fresno County Department of Public Health on any follow-up contact tracing. So the key is to remember to fill out the online form, but all of that data is very transparent on the COVID-19 website. And again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Lisa Kao or Janelle Murillo. We are working so closely together to ensure the safety and welfare of our campus community. We want to keep everyone safe as we begin to repopulate the campus at a higher level, but it's going to take all of us following the public health guidelines and also being very diligent about all of the wearing of your facial coverings and all of the hand washing and hand sanitizer. And we are making sure that if you forget your mask accidentally when you come to campus, our public safety colleagues, when you do your daily health screening check and temperature check, they do have extra masks available. So if you forget, please be sure to ask for one. And thank you for everyone's cooperation during this very unusual time.
Thank you, Vice President A. Stone. I also want to mention that the app that we have is on the Fresno State mobile app. You can download that and you can go to the COVID testing or COVID-19 spot there, right? When you open it up, I did it again this morning. You can do your quick check and come to campus, take a picture of this, a screenshot, show it to the person here,
Right,
and then you get your sticker. So we've made it as easy as possible. And I just want to thank everybody for their hard work in organizing it. It worked very well today.
Great. Thank you, President Castro. Earlier in your remarks, you talked about the 6,500 new students that are coming to campus. One of the questions is related to that is, what are some ways that we as faculty and as staff, what can we do to build a sense of community for those thousands of students who are new to our campus this semester?
I love that question. The way that you can really support them is one-on-one when they need your support. If they reach out to you by email, being responsive to them. I hear from them all the time. They'll direct message me, they'll send me emails, and that's, for me, that would be the most important thing, is to be supportive and responsive, to be compassionate about the fact that, you know, their lives might be upside down right now, and maybe yours is a little bit too, so that you'll understand that. But I think the compassion and meeting them where they're at, and using your intellectual gifts and your mentorship to connect with them. As I said, you know, 70% or so are the first in their families to go to college, so they don't have anybody at home necessarily who can say, yeah, this is how you do this or that. So we need to make sure that we're there to support them in any way possible. And as faculty members and staff members, you really have that opportunity to support them in ways that help them to succeed. So I so appreciate that question, and I hope that you'll lean into this and support them in the most powerful and compelling ways this semester.
Thank you. Great. So the next question, will President Castro and Cabinet support faculty with a free tablet if they don't have one? It's difficult to teach virtually without a tablet, and the request is to please don't put the burden on faculty to get a tablet to provide virtual instruction if face-to-face classes are not possible.
It's a great question. I'm going to ask the provost to answer that.
Sure, thank you for that question. To add to what President Castro said prior, I think we have the power right now to really use language in a positive way to encourage our students to become engaged with us, even if you have an asynchronous class, or especially if you have an asynchronous class. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, as far as tablets are concerned, I think we have sent several messages to the faculty stating that we are able to provide iPads to our faculty, and by faculty, I am all inclusive. It is tenure track, and also the lecturers, who are then going to be able to request a tablet from our Center for Faculty Excellence. The Center for Faculty Excellence has been working very closely with Discovery in the delivery of these tablets, and they're able to reach out to either Dr. Brian Barrett or my provost for a tablet to teach during fall 2020.
Thank you, Provost. Let's see, one of the next questions has to do with the course offerings this fall.
Yeah.
Given that we have this record size of incoming students, have we expanded course offerings and sections because some students report having trouble finding classes this fall?
The answer is yes, absolutely. And I'll ask the provost to share more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We have been monitoring very closely where the demands are as far as classes are concerned. We have added 42 new classes as of a few weeks ago. We are still monitoring more to see where the demands are, and we're focusing our efforts on GE primarily, but also on very major specific classes that are needed to graduate. So absolutely, we are focused on meeting the demands that our students have during this time. Given that we have a large incoming class, we are focused on being more proactive than usual. Vice Provost Fu has been working very closely with the Dean of Undergraduate Studies, Dr. Bernadette Muscat, and together they have been working very closely with the deans as well to meet this demand.
Thank you. The next comment/question is around athletics.
Yes.
So with the postponement of athletics to the spring, we miss the normal energy and excitement around fall sports and specifically football. Our campus thrives off of the community engagement we get from tailgates, home games, and what have you. The question is, what are we going to do to ensure that spring season can be played?
It's a great question. And I'll ask Terry Toomey to amplify on this, but I want you to know that I miss Bulldog athletics as well. And the decision that we had to make last week as a Mountain West Board of Presidents was probably one of the most challenging and consequential that any of us has ever had to make. And we prioritize the safety and well-being of our students and our coaches and their families and all the athletic department staff. So I want you to know that that was really at the forefront. I consulted with health experts here locally as well as state and national experts. And as you can see by now that most of the athletic conferences have made similar decisions. As it relates to the spring, and I'm going to ask Terry Toomey to talk more about that part of it. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have even basketball in the winter sports, as well as football and other fall sports in the spring. But it's far too early to know if that's going to be possible. It's the same kind of question I was asked earlier today about whether we'll be able to be back here kind of in a new normal in the spring. But we are looking at that as an option, a preferred option. And the athletic directors, including Terry Toomey, are taking the lead right now within the Mountain West to look at the different options and to advise each of the presidents about how we could do it in a safe manner. So I'd like to ask Terry Toomey to amplify on that.
Thank you, Dr. Castro, and thank you for all of our community for allowing me to participate today. To reiterate what Dr. Castro, President Castro has mentioned, the health and safety of our student athletes and of our entire community was of primary importance to us. And therefore, I thought the decision that was made was prudent and served in the best interests of our community. As we move forward, and we know the special community that we have here in our valley with the Red Wave, we will look to in the spring to try to have a campaign that would look at the new tools that we have available to activate our community and keep you engaged and keep you excited about our students and our student athletes here at Fresno State. So we will be looking to have some things happening virtually that will engage our community as we continue to evaluate what spring looks like and present those plans to our executive leadership. We are hopeful for spring as long as everyone participates and does their part in the right manner to keep this entire valley safe. And so we look forward to the possibilities of spring, knowing that they are undetermined at this point in time and very uncertain. But I want to thank all of you for your tremendous support to athletics and what we do here in the service of not only to our students, but of this great community. So thank you so much for the question.
Thank you, Terry. There are several questions around COVID-19 testing, and I noticed that some of the language changes between screening and testing, so maybe this is a good opportunity to explain the difference.
Yeah.
But the main question that's coming through right now is why is the COVID-19 testing, the baseline testing, not being extended through the semester?
Great question. Vice President Acestone?
Thank you so much for that question. First of all, I think it's important to know that this was an optional program, voluntary for our campus community to participate in. And the goal initially was to ensure that we have a good baseline understanding, especially as we were repopulating the campus, to ensure the safety and welfare of our campus community, given that we were going to, considerably increase the number of folks on campus. It is a voluntary program, and a big thanks to our healthcare partner, Valley Children's Healthcare, who have been conducting the tests for us. And some of it was not sure kind of what response we might get, and the response has been very positive, and those tests will continue this week as our students and faculty return to campus. It is voluntary, and we will be monitoring going forward if we deem that it'd be appropriate to offer this on campus again in the future. We are working to accommodate our students who may have off-campus internships or their clinical experience where testing may be required. And so we're working with the provost and our colleagues in student affairs as to how we might help to facilitate that, whether we offer that on campus or off campus for our students during internships. And then I think we will determine if it's viable for us to offer this opportunity again throughout the semester. So thank you so much for the question, and so glad it's been well received by our campus community. The convenience and the logistics, again, big thanks to our team who helped to ensure that it was a quick process, and to Valley Children's for their partnership.
Thank you, Vice President Acestone. A couple of more questions related to folks who are coming to campus this fall. Who is considered to be an essential worker? That is someone who must be on campus. And then for those who just need to make a quick trip to campus, do they still need to go through screening?
Well, thank you. And we're referring to the daily health screening process. And as President Castro mentioned earlier, our campus developed a very simple app to fill out before you come to campus, and it gives you a green check mark or a red X. And if you get a red X, don't come to campus. Please contact your medical provider. But presuming that you get the green check mark and you proceed to campus, we do have 5 checkpoints on campus, drive-up checkpoints to make it very convenient. You'll show your screenshot. Our colleagues in public safety will do a quick temperature check and give you a sticker for the day. We are working on the stickers. We're finding they're not sticking really well, so stay tuned. Some of the logistics are still being worked out. But if we get that question a lot, whether we're just coming to campus real quick to maybe run to my office and pick up something and then leave. What our criteria is, and it is on the honor system, so we do appreciate everyone kind of understanding how they may be feeling that day, but we need everyone to fill out the daily health screening check, even if you're just coming to campus very quickly to pick up something. If you are not going to be in your office or in common areas or interacting with students or faculty in the classroom or in a department administrative office area, you do not need to go through the checkpoints. But we are encouraging folks to do that because it's sending the right example. But understand that if you're just running in to get something from your office and you're not going to be interacting or running into anybody, that the daily checkpoint would not be required. But we do require the daily health screening app be filled out just in case you might be asked by any public safety personnel if you've done that for the day. And I just appreciate everyone's patience and cooperation as we implement this. Our campus has really been at the hallmark of both offering the COVID-19 baseline testing as well as doing the daily health screening app and temperature check And again, appreciate the cooperation from all of our colleagues and our students as we're doing everything we can to keep our campus safe and to mitigate the number of cases on campus.
Thank you, Vice President Naystone. This next question is regarding tenure track faculty. The current conditions have presented us with unforeseen bumps on the road to fulfill some of the elements required for tenure. How would Fresno State help tenure track faculty to reach promotion? And are timeline extensions being considered if needed?
Great question for the provost.
Thank you for that question. We have communicated to our faculty who are tenure track that if they would like to extend their tenure track clock up to a year, that they can do that. I have seen already some applications for that have been approved. So that's one part of it. The other part is if there's a specific situation that you're going through, or if there's a specific situation, then speak to your dean or speak to each other, and then from that point we can figure things out as well. But the fundamental thing about all of this is that the support is there for our faculty. We expect our faculty to go through their tenure track processes, but we are also very much aware that there are very specific situations at home with the family during these times. The faculty have the right to extend up to 1 year their clock, and then at that point we would proceed as normal after that. So thanks for that question.
Thank you. There is another question from the academic side, is if the search for 2 new deans will be happening this fall.
Yes, we have plans to proceed with the search for 3 deans actually in the fall. It is the Dean of Arts and Humanities, the Dean of Social Sciences, and also the Dean of Business. Thank you. So these are I knew that it was 3 deans, but yeah, I had the 2 deans in mind, but the 3 deans will proceed in the fall. We are going to follow through the APM as always. The APM stipulates that the colleges each select 3 of the committee members, and then we go from there. And then 1 staff member is selected by the college randomly. And then 1 student as well will represent the college within this committee. Recently, we have proposed to the Executive Committee of the Academic Senate that the Director of Development also be part of this committee. I'm going to propose that again this year, and then we will proceed then with the committee. The provost gets to choose 4 of the committee members. So that's basically the committee for each of these colleges, for each of the deans that will be searched in fall 2020.
Thank you, Provost.
Thank you.
There are 2 questions related to managerial positions.
Yes.
Earlier, there was an answer related to layoffs and furloughs, and a couple of people who heard the answer understood that we were only referring to faculty and staff. So the follow-up question is, what about managerial positions? Will those be considered for furloughs and or layoffs?
Yes and yes. If we were to do a system-wide furlough program, it would include managers, faculty, and staff. And the Chancellor White communicated in the summer, earlier this summer, same day that I communicated about the budget. And in that communication, he said that the system-wide furlough tool may be used in the next fiscal year. So we'll see how that goes, but it would apply to all employees. As it relates to layoffs, yes, unfortunately, we'll have to look at all different options there. And I want to assure you that we're being as thoughtful as we can to make sure that we don't do harm to the academic quality of the university, and that we're as compassionate as we can, because as it relates to the layoffs that we had to do in July, those were valued colleagues, and that was a painful set of decisions for us. But they were guided by the fact that we must be fiscally responsible during this COVID period. So unfortunately, we'll have to look again at all classifications as we make potential decisions in the coming weeks. And I promise you that we will be as transparent with all of you as possible, and we will work with the unions as appropriate as it relates to any staff impacts.
Great, thank you very much. There's a question around cost savings. Are there changes that can be made in buildings and facilities that will be less used to save money? For example, turning off lights or raising temperatures slightly, such as using less of the air conditioning on campus?
I'd like to ask Vice President Astone to answer that.
Thank you. Yes, of course, this summer, where possible, looked at reducing our energy consumption in many of our buildings. However, we still do have to be mindful of keeping a certain minimum temperature in many buildings just because of the electronics and other systems in the building needing to continue that they remain functional. We also do, as we all know, have an antiquated control system for our mechanical system. So it makes it much more of a manual process to go in and make some of these adjustments that, you know, at your home, you can just reduce your thermostat and it's taken care of. It's not quite that simple with our buildings, with the delivery of the chilled water and the age of our controls, which is part of our central plant utility project going forward. So, but our team, our building engineers, and again, a big shout out to all of them because they're kind of on call 24/7, but they have really been managing all of our building systems as carefully as possible to be mindful of both energy savings, but also if we have anyone occupying any of these buildings, we do need to make sure that we, because of the COVID-19 situation, that we have the proper airflow going through the buildings. And as President Castro mentioned, that we're changing the filters on a regular basis. And to open up our windows is for Fresno right now, this time of year is not an option. Hopefully when we get to the fall, that will be. So all of that has to be taken into consideration, and we're following all of the ASHRAE guidelines relative to how our building systems are being monitored and managed during this time. So I hope that helps. But thank you for the question, and we're always looking for those opportunities. And with the reduced number of colleagues on campus, that has definitely reduced some of our energy consumption, but we still need to be mindful of preserving and taking care of our buildings, our indoor air quality.
Thank you, Vice President Astone. Around graduate students, one of the questions is whether the university will provide any financial support for graduate students who have been delayed in graduation because of the very slow restart to campus research.
Great question. I'm going to see if the provost is able to answer that.
Sure. I know that the deans have been focused on assessing the needs of our graduate students. And if there are specific needs that these graduate students are going through, we would certainly welcome the dialogue about these. We want our graduate students to continue with their careers. We want our graduate students to continue with their studies and then finish on time as well, because now more than ever, we need more graduates out there in the workforce so that we can rebuild the economy and move forward together. So absolutely, if there are situations that are specific to a graduate student, we would like to hear about them and then move forward with whatever type of dialogue we can establish in order to find a solution that's appropriate.
Thank you. The next question has to do with operations and auxiliaries. This question is specifically for Vice President Astone. What operation improvements might be possible this fall for foundation and auxiliaries for processes such as greater availability of digital document signing, time reporting, payroll options beyond paper checks, et cetera?
Thank you. Yes, we still have some work to do, especially for our colleagues who are foundation employees. We recognize that we do still have some manual processes, in particular relative to payroll. We have tried to automate as much as possible using DocuSign, but when it comes to some of the payroll documents, we do still have some work to do there. So I'll be working closely with our colleagues, both Keith Compsey and Nicole Lane, this semester to see what we can do to improve some of those process efficiencies with foundation forms. We transitioned quite a bit, as we all know, since March. And what I think it did show, and President Castro mentioned this earlier, is that we do have some other opportunities for operational improvements that we do need to focus on. And this change in our operations has brought those to light, and we will be looking at those going forward. We also need to keep in mind that there have been a number of priorities placed upon our colleagues, both our university colleagues and our auxiliary colleagues. And please don't take that we haven't progressed on that as not knowing that that's a priority or something that we do need to look into. But we do just having to prioritize some of the immediate needs that we did have and needed to address when we made the transition to virtual instruction. But I hear you, and stay tuned. And if you have any specific recommendations, please reach out to me directly or to Nicole Lane, who's our Associate Executive Director with the association in charge of HR. But thank you so much, and stay tuned.
Thank you, Vice President Naystone. The next question is very short and to the point. Will you be combining any smaller departments together? And I'm assuming that's academic departments.
That's a great question, and I know the provost has been talking with the academic senate about this. So provost.
Yeah, we have been speaking with the academic senate about minors or about programs that are very low enrolled numbers of students, but we have not spoken about specifically combining or merging departments at this point. It's all towards the goal of being more efficient, and it's also all towards the goal of streamlining what Fresno State represents. We are at a cross points right now in which we have to really take into account what Fresno State represents to the Valley. And we are a university that is comprehensive, but we need to focus on where the greatest impact is going to be, both for our students and our Valley as well. So more on that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost. There's a question around the possibility of an ombuds position. So have there been any developments recently regarding a campus ombudsman and also policies to address retaliation and to protect whistleblowers?
Thank you. This is still a position that I'm interested in, and I know the cabinet is as well. We've had to delay the implementation of that idea because of COVID and the budget situation. And I can't tell you for sure when we'll be able to pursue that position, but it is one that I think would make a positive difference to the campus. So we're going to continue to assess that. As it relates to whistleblowing, I want everybody to know that we have those policies in place, and I encourage anyone who has concerns about any part of the university to come forward, and you can do that anonymously if you wish, or you can do it in person with your supervisor or with your vice president. And I want to ask Vice President Naystone if she'd like to build on that, but this is such an important area that I know the cabinet takes very seriously, and I do too. There would be any potential issues like that, we want to know about them so that we can deal with them forcefully and aggressively.
Thank you, President Castro. We do have a number of ways that anyone, if there are concerns, but just recently the communication did go out from HR about our whistleblower policy and the ways that anyone can report any concerns through that website and what all of both the state and CSU policies are, and that is on the Human Resources website. In addition, we have our Tip Now hotline, which is another way to anonymously report any concerns, whether they be safety or fiscal or operational or any concerns that a campus or community member may have. We also have the President's feedback page. That is another opportunity. And as President Castro mentioned, we take all of these opportunities and information that we receive very seriously, and we will investigate and review appropriately depending upon the information provided. We also have a very helpful resource guide for students, faculty, and staff that is located both on our Human Resources website, our Student Affairs website, and our Title IX website that provides resources and guidelines for students, faculty, and staff who may have concerns about student conduct, any discrimination, harassment, or retaliation claims, and where there are various resources and support for both our students and faculty and staff. So if you have not reviewed that resource page, please do so. We really tried to make it very simple, that saying, you know, if there's this situation, here's who you can contact. We put individuals' names, emails, phone numbers to make it very convenient, so all of the information is in one place. And we do encourage, we want to know about these concerns and issues, and we do take them very seriously and will handle accordingly.
Great, thank you very much. One of the comments, and it's not necessarily a question, is from one of our colleagues saying that they do miss the welcome back community gathering, that is seeing everyone in person. But this person says that they think this Zoom session has been particularly informative and transparent.
Right.
And the person goes on to add that virtual meetings can increase participation and be good stewardship of faculty administration time and energy. So that's some positive feedback we're receiving.
Thank you.
Several other questions have been coming in around the library. I
Yes.
think there's a little bit of confusion as to which sections of the library are open to our faculty, students,
Okay.
and staff.
Yeah, the provost, I think, is in a great position to answer those.
Sure, the library is right now functioning at the level that it functioned prior to our closing back in March, meaning that the library has discovery and the hub are open. And then the circulation desk is staffed, but it's not fully functioning right now. If a faculty member needs a book or the faculty member needs any resources from the library, they absolutely can access the library. Likewise with the students. If the students need any of the resources that the library has to offer, they can also make an appointment in order to access these resources as well. The students will not be able to study at the library per the mandates that we received from the state recently, the guidelines. The students are able then to access Discovery, access the hub as far as the technology needs are concerned, but they are not able to study in the library. The professors as well would not be able to use the library as they would to study or to access its resources as normally would. But they can access the stacks. They have to make an appointment for that, and then we'll proceed with the same standard that we had prior to our closing in March 2020.
Thank you, Provost.
Provost had it right. I think what I want to mention, though, is if we come off the monitoring list as a county,
That's right.
then we would actually be able to have study space again, right, Saul?
That's exactly right. Yeah, right now we are on the list that is being monitored by the state of California because of the high number of COVID cases that we have in Fresno County. If we get off that list, then we will be able to open the library in a limited capacity to our students to study within social distancing, and only to the students who are taking face-to-face classes. I'd like to mention as well that the students who are coming to class, and we have a lot of hotspots around the university, around the campus, the physical campus. If they're outside, if they're distanced from each other, they can be sitting down and they can access their computer and they can check their email, or they can also do other things from our campus as well. This is again for our students who are taking face-to-face classes at Fresno State.
Great, thank you very much, Provost. I think a few of our colleagues joined us a little later in the event, so some questions coming in again are around the spring semester,
Okay.
including what childcare options will be available in the spring, and when will we know what the spring will look like?
Yeah, let's talk about the childcare for a moment. Do you want to have Debbie do that?
Thank you for the question. And we have been working very closely with the Provost's office and working with our programs for children as staff. And again, big thank you to Brittany Randolph and our team there. We will have reduced enrollment at our programs for children centers this fall. Again, to ensure the safety of our children and their families, and also meeting all of the required guidelines for physical distancing. So they have a very impressive plan that they have put together to ensure the safety of the children coming back to our child care centers this fall. What the spring looks like is we do not know at this time. And we hope that as we hopefully get off the state monitoring list and the number of cases in Fresno County starts to hopefully flatten and reduce, that we could look at possibly increased enrollment within programs for children in the spring. But we're being very cautious. And there's been outreach to the families for those needing childcare, and they've really tried to look at schedules that will work out both for our students as well as our faculty and staff who may have children at the centers as well. But if you have a specific question, please don't hesitate to reach out to Brittany Randolph or any of the staff there at Programs for Children. They've really, all summer, have put together a very robust and thorough plan to ensure, again, the safety of the children and their families. Did want to mention, too, that if we have faculty and staff, and if you have children at one of the child care centers, if you go through the daily health screening checkpoint with your child and you get a sticker, you will not need to do that again when you get to the child care site. So we're trying to, again, make some of these logistics as convenient as possible, especially for our faculty and staff who are parents and have children at the center. So I think more information will be forthcoming later this fall when we know what the spring may look like as far as number of in-person courses and what the enrollment opportunities might be for our child care centers. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Vice President Naystone. And we do have maybe time for a couple of more questions.
Sure, yeah.
I did want to remind the audience that there's a really robust conversation going on in the chat function right now with lots
Great.
of folks sharing links
What's
and
it about?
information.
Oh, links.
Oh,
Okay.
it's with information, following up on the comments that cabinet members are making.
Great.
And everyone's helping each other out and encouraging each other in the
Good
chat
deal.
area.
Terrific.
So I will continue, though, to
That's
look.
the collaboration principle.
No, it's wonderful. It's really great to see everybody interacting. I will return to the Q&A portion. And there's a question around managing employees who are working from home.
Yeah.
So it's a two-part question. How are managers measuring the amount of work employees who are fully working from home? And how many hours of actual work are required for those working from home?
That's a great question. I think I would like to ask Vice President Aystone to address that. She oversees human resources, and I think she's well positioned to answer that.
Thank you, President Castro, and thank you for the question. And this is something that we do cover as a topic with our managers when we have an opportunity to get together for some of the Zoom sessions that we've had. And I think it's really important, and it's incumbent upon, I think, both the manager and the employee to have those conversations, and we're encouraging that. Managers need to be doing the check-in with their staff and colleagues to say, how things going? And I know many of our managers are doing that, and I just want to say thank you, because some managers have employees who are still working on campus and have many who are working remotely or telecommuting. So it's really important that the communication is frequent and that it's both. It's both the manager and the employee, as well as the employee maybe reaching out to the manager, indicating what the workload may be, or if there's a question about priorities, or what maybe else they could help out with if within their position classification, if they have some capacity. But just really what we are strongly encouraging is that dialogue and that frequent dialogue, just as we would have one-on-one meetings or department meetings if we were all still on campus together. That's one of the great things about Zoom, is it's given us that opportunity, I think, to be actually schedule more meetings. I know many of us, because it's so convenient, we just have Zoom meetings back to back, but that's what makes the technology so robust and efficient, that we're not having to walk to another meeting or go to another building for a meeting or even walk into another room for a meeting. So we really have become much more efficient with our time management. But I would just encourage our managers, as well as our just amazing staff, that if you have questions or if you don't feel you're getting communication, please reach out to your immediate supervising manager or your associate vice president or your dean, depending upon where the organizational structure may lie. But it's really incumbent upon all of us that we're being as efficient and that we are going up, and doing what we need to be doing to make sure that we are able to be as efficient with our time, but also ensuring that we have the workload required to fulfill a day's work. And we've all learned to be, I think, very, like I said, efficient and innovative with the technology. And I know so much good work is being done by our employees who are telecommuting, as well as our employees who are here on campus. It's just different, and we've had to learn to make those adjustments. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Naystone. And Dr. Castro, before we conclude with your final remarks, what would we be without any questions around parking? So our last question, we always are looking forward to the parking questions. So the question is parking going to be enforced throughout the next few months?
Well, I want to thank whoever it was for the parking question, because I thought we were taking, there was a little bit of, discussion whether we'd get a parking question. So thank you, whoever submitted that. Thank you so much. Yes, we are continuing to enforce parking. Many of our fellow CSU campuses are doing the same. We recognize that we will have, a much lower campus population. We still have to ensure, because parking is a self-support operation, we do not receive general funds to operate our parking operation. If you do not want to buy a permit, you can buy a semester permit, you can buy a daily permit if you're just going to be on campus for a short period of time. We also have some, visitor stalls, the 20 minutes. So if it's something really quick and you need to just run into your office, we have those stalls available as well. But we do need to continue the enforcement, and we do need individuals to continue to buy their permits if they're going to be on campus for the most part full time. And we have tried to, reduce our operations as much as possible in our parking area. And again, I want to thank our public safety and parking team. They're actually the ones doing the screening at the checkpoints again. So we're trying to utilize our resources where necessary right now. And just want to say thank you to our parking and public safety team for helping out in this regard. If you have any specific questions about parking, you can always reach out to me or Derek Brantley, our parking manager, who does a great job in being very responsive to questions when posed. But we do need to continue that enforcement. And I know that may not be popular response, but that's honest and transparent, because we do need to ensure that the operations of the department can continue and that we are ready to transition to the spring once we know more. But thank you for the question.
Thank you, Vice President Naystone. Dr. Castro, if you would like to wrap up the event with a few remarks before we end.
Sure. Well, I want to thank you, Patty, for moderating the Q&A, and thank you to all the cabinet members for helping me to answer your questions. Most importantly, thank you for joining us today and for your dedicated and passionate commitment to Fresno State. I want to mention to you that the President's Lecture Series will continue this fall. It'll be in virtual format, so stay tuned for more information. We'll have Robert Costa with us in early October. And then I've also extended an invitation to Tamra Keith from NPR, who happens to be a native of the Valley. So I'm hoping that she'll say yes as well. And both of those would be in those important weeks heading up to our presidential election. So I wish you all a great day and a great week and a wonderful fall semester. Thank you very much. Have a good day.